All right, so welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the Reaching Your Full Potential Online Tech Summit, where top experts share secret tips to be uber successful and stand out from the crowd. Today, I have my good friend Riyaz Datoo. We go far back, and a little bit brief bio about him. For over 15 years, Riyaz has passionately worked alongside resellers, entrepreneurs, and new businesses in the subsurface laser industry, setting up distribution and growing market share for 3D custom photo lifting products. His company, Crystallize It, manufactures and ships over 26 tons of custom prestigious 3D crystal projects per year. Alongside manufacturing, they've created and established Cockpit 3D, a 3D software and modeling service company, which has helped entrepreneurs succeed in selling 3D custom gifting products globally. Riyaz, that's impressive. I remember when we first started together. People may not know we started together working way back.
Yeah, we go way back.
Way back. So, why don't you tell me, how do you all start?
Well, first of all, Shahid, let me just say that it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion. The question was, how did it all start? I think you said we've gone way back to actually, doing projects together when we were just at the age of high school, perhaps, or early university. And I think it started way back then. It was just, I didn't know where I'd net or end up, but it was always about, I had that kind of entrepreneurial bug and always wanted to, be doing something that would excite people and that would, well, first and foremost, excite me and then excite the people that were involved in the product or service that I was going to offer. I just didn't know what it was. I remember that I made my way through university and paying the university fees, which at that time were a lot less than they are today, right? But I got through that by just pretty much doing design work, and then it was probably in my second year of uni that I had the opportunity of doing a job interview with Procter and Gamble, and I kind of went the more traditional route where I got a job with them, a job offer, at least for the summers. And after my last summer with them, I got a full-time job offer. And so that was my route. And I ended up working for them. And I kind of thought of it as, do I go and do my MBA or do I kind of live out an MBA? And that's really what I did. Was I chose to work for them. It was probably the best decision that I ever made. And then in terms of how I think you really want to know how did the whole 3D crystal business start, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that started actually before I was in the zone of growing my career with P&G, and I had it down on paper as through some brainstorming I had done in my fourth year, and I had shelved it to the side, and I was working my way up the corporate ladder. Mm-hmm. But there was always something at the back of me wondering, what if? Like, had I done that, what would have happened? Had I actually pursued, laser technology and photo imaging, what would have happened? And it was always at the back of my mind. And I came to a crossroads where I had to make a decision because I had just been promoted to executive level, great salary, company car, everything. And it was now where I was going to start getting to higher levels where you kind of move to different countries as well. And did I want to now really pursue that for life? And the only way I would know that I didn't make a mistake was by trying this concept out, the concept of laser etching. And if I tried it out and if it didn't work, then at least I would know in the future that I had tried it and I made the right decision pursuing my career with this company, because they're a great company and you're always learning. And but so what I did was I spoke to my director and I explained, and this is actually the lesson in what I'm saying here, is the importance of honesty and relationships with whomever it is that you're doing business with, whether it's your coworkers, your managers, whether it's your suppliers and partners, equity investors. The relationships are so important. And I went in and I had a heart-to-heart with my director, and I said, look, someone here has left the office for a year's leave of absence to travel the world. Someone else has left for a paternity or maternity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's on my mind. And for me to give my all to you, I really need to know if this concept would have worked or not. And that pretty much is what led me to having my leave of absence and starting and trying out the business.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty good. How about when you started, what were some of the struggles then with it? How did the
Well, you know, when you start a business, I think if I look back now, it's like everything is so obvious, right? But when you're starting, especially when you're growing something from the ground up organically, you kind of have to try so many different things, and you just don't know what's going to work and what direction to go in.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back, it's kind of so obvious. But at that time, when you're in it and you're just looking forward, you don't know. And you know, the first struggle, maybe I can talk about two, because there's always going to be struggles that I could talk about up until like this morning, right? But if I talk about two of the struggles that I went through at the beginning, the first was in the financing of the business. Like, you know, it's not a cheap business to start. You know, I needed at that time in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to source components, put these things together, get the right engineers involved in this, and really make it happen, and all the risk involved in kind of the troubleshooting of making this you know, this entire project work. And nobody was willing to invest. Now, yes, I had a good job, but I'll tell you this much is that I didn't have very much savings. I had a bit of a down payment, but not very much savings. And so when you go to the banks and you're asking them to invest in a brand new business, it's not even a franchise that has a proven concept. I mean, this is it. This is from in here. And you're asking them to invest in a business, in a single use asset. So if the business fails, they can't take that asset of your laser components and sell it to anyone, right? So you're asking them to invest in a concept that's in the mind, nothing that's proven, no data, and a single use asset. What bank in the rightful mind would provide you with a loan? But I think that the one gift I had was that, and still till today, is when I speak, you know, with passion. I'll say what I really firmly, truly believe, and I will do whatever it takes to ensure that I maintain my integrity and my promise. And I made sure that whenever I spoke to anyone I was presenting to, it came across that way. So that if there was ever a doubt on them getting their money back, I would do whatever it took to ensure that they got their money back, and to make them believe it from now, that this man is going to pay us our money. There's no doubt about it. So I went to the different financial institutions. Nobody wanted to give me money, but I had worked at RBC. I don't know if you remember this.
Yes,
but this
I remember.
You remember, right? So I had worked at RBC, and I called the 1-800 number for RBC, just saying I wanted to speak to an account manager. Coincidentally, they put me in touch with an account manager at the same branch that I had worked at. Like, this is a coincidence, okay? Because there's a lot of RBC branches that are within my postal codes, but they put me in touch with that branch. So I went in for a meeting, made a dynamite presentation on my PowerPoint, and had some samples to show them. And what she said, her name is Chris. If she happens to watch this, she'll remember this vividly, because it was a very unique situation where she said that, again, it's a single-use asset. It's very difficult for you to get a loan from us or from anybody, but because of your presentation, I'm going to give you a shot at speaking to the risk manager. So she gave me a meeting 2 weeks later with her and the risk manager. His name was Paul, to make the same presentation to him. Now, in those 2 weeks, what I did was I called my director at P&G and I said, look, this is what's happening. I'm going to be going and making a presentation. Can you give me that offer, that, because he had given me my 1 year leave of absence with a guarantee of me getting my job back at the same level of which I'd just been promoted executive level in 52 weeks. Now, it might not have been representing the same product like Tide or Pantene, but it would have been a different product category, but the same level. So I said, can you put that in writing and give me that letter? So when I went in for my next meeting to meet with Paul, and he asked me all the questions, I had all the answers. At the end of that meeting, I pulled out that letter and I said, you know what? I know I don't have collateral, but I got this. And I showed him this letter signed by the director, the person that reported directly to the president. And when he saw that, he had a poker face. So I was hoping that I would get my answer from him at that time. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what you want to hear because you want to hear that he agreed. And I can't say that because you know what happened? He gave me a poker face and he left the room and he said, Chris, we'll get back to you. Chris was the original account manager. So she told me, look, the normal protocol is he would have called me to another room. He would have discussed it with me. I would have come in and we would have done the paperwork. But because he's left, it's not good news, but I'll get back to you on Monday. So she called me on Monday. Of course, you know, I wasn't expecting the loan or any good news. She calls me on Monday. She says, he's giving you what you asked for, plus an extra $20,000 for cash flow. All right. So that was the challenge, and that was the response to that challenge. So it took. I mean, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of behind the scenes that people don't know. But that's one example. Yeah.
That's a really good story. I don't think I heard that, but that's amazing, Riyaz. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty good. So, you know, obviously, then how did you like start, you know, seeing success and growth in your business, the 3D Crystallize, and obviously, maybe you can touch upon the software aspect of it as well too. How did that start as well?
Sure. So if you ask anyone on my teams, whether it's locally in North America or internationally, anyone that's kind of a part of my network will know that the word success I use very carefully. I don't like to ever claim that we've succeeded or that we've met success. I think that success needs to be seen as more of a moving target. So, you know, you kind of have your goal. Right. And you work to achieve it. So yes, you've succeeded in that goal. You celebrate it, but then you very quickly set your next goal. And that's what leads to a trajectory up and to the right. So that's the kind of, I'd say the overall philosophy on success and growth. But in terms of how we grew our business, you know, maybe I'll talk about two things. I'll talk about verticals and then aiming high. Okay. So in terms of verticals, I always understood that it's so important to hedge your risk. And so what I did was I created various different silos. I call them verticals for my business. So whether that be physical locations, even within physical locations, having different segments within physical locations. Online, how do we treat online? Is it just through a singular website, or how can we treat the entire online space in multiple ways from various different directions, various different variables to be able to scale there as well. So for the physical space, you know, it was a big challenge to be able to get retail locations because malls charge a huge amount of rent. And as you know, I mean, all of my capital that I had gotten financed went towards developing the technology. And so I was left with very little to be able to pay rent. And quite honestly, I never really I don't like using other money for rent because you can blow it within a month, right? So what I did was I went and walked many locations, and I didn't just stick to my local area. I went to various different states, various different cities, and I would walk the malls and I would scout for stores that were already there, that already were paying rent, that were already paying staff, and that were already selling a product, but a product that mine could complement. So whether it be a photo store selling photography related items, a gifting store selling gifting items, any of the sort. And I would photo gifting store, custom gifting store selling, you know, like customized corporate, you know, items as well. And I would showcase my product and I say, look, let's do a mutual agreement where you sell the product, you put it as part of your existing product assortment, and we will come to some sort of an agreement on a rev share, right? And so that's pretty much, you know, how I treated it. So that was kind of one way of building and scaling my business as at that time a one-man operation. And then the other vertical was again online, and how did we use online to be able to grow our business, not just our website, but also helping those stores that were selling our product, who are generally focused so much on their existing shop that they don't even think about the online space. Well, taking our knowledge and kind of helping them go online to sell their products, our products as well. So you can see how it kind of helps penetrate the landscape, right?
True.
And then, you know, backups and contingencies are just so important. So my first, Shahid, I don't think I ever really shared this publicly, but my first real presentation at that time. And it was so difficult to even get the time to sit down with these people in a meeting. That's many times you'll find for new business owners. The goal isn't even to get your product in, it's to get the meeting first. I mean, that's very challenging. Get that meeting. And after you get the meeting, you're probably, if you're a good presenter, more than 50% on your way to getting your product in. So for me, it was getting a meeting with the CN Tower in Toronto, Ontario. And at that time, you know, you're talking at the turn of the millennium almost.
Right.
They were at that time the tallest freestanding structure in the world. So they had that claim to fame. But this was well before, you know, the Burj had come up. Burj Khalifa had come up in Dubai. And so getting a meeting with them was a challenge. But we sat, you know, I got that meeting, I sat down, I took them through it. You know what? Again, I can't give you the answer you wanted because they couldn't take my product. But here's one thing about that meeting is that I sat down with the marketing director, and I'm going to share first names because they might be watching this interview, and I want them to know the influence that they had on my business. So Lisa, who was the marketing director, Safraz, who was the CFO at that time, and Jack. Well, Jack came in a little later, but it was Lisa and Safraz. And I sat down at their boardroom table. I made the presentation. They were so excited about what I was showing them that they felt it worthy at last moment, without even it being calendared, to go and call Jack, who was the CEO of the CN Tower, to come into this meeting. Now, you can imagine me, you know, what this is telling me about the product. What signals is it giving me about the idea that I have? Now, they couldn't move forward with me because they had an existing contract with the photo concessionaire, and they had to respect their agreement. They could not introduce a product that had somewhat of a competitive nature to their existing photo concessionaire that was there. But the fact that all three of the leaders of the tallest freestanding structure in the world sat down and were moved by this product said a lot. And when I'm talking about backup plans, the point I'm telling you here is that even though they couldn't move forward, I had so many other ideas, you know, in place that I was able to pursue to ensure that my business continued to grow. And they were very well aware of the milestones that I was hitting because I was very, very much in touch with them. And after 7 years, I get invited in for a lunch to sit down with them. I didn't know what was going to happen at this meeting. All I knew was they wanted some information. And a gentleman by the name of Patrick, he called me in for lunch, spoke to me very generally. He said that on your way out, I just want to take you down to meet someone. He takes me to go meet Jack, the CEO. And Jack, at that moment, you know, said, Riyaz, and he sticks his hand out. He shakes my hand. He says, your persistence, your perseverance, and the fact that you have grown the 3D crystal business, we're going to give you a shot. And he gave me a 3-month shot, which lasted another 7 years. Until their renovations happened, and you know, just pre-COVID, we were just entering back in to continue that relationship. This time in a different format, in selling you know, a souvenir and 3D keepsakes through their retail shops. So wow, yeah. So that's a bit of a story on the verticals. Now, I told you that I would tell you the second thing, which was aiming high. Yes. So I'll keep this short because I know that you know, we're limited for time. But on the concept of aiming high, when you are consciously aiming beyond where you think you're going to net out, it's going to increase your probability of landing at a very good number. Okay. So if you know that, you know, you want to, say, for example, sell 10 units of something, and you aim to sell 20 units of something, the amount of work you're going to do preparing to sell 20 units, because things aren't going to always go the way that they're supposed to, you will still have a higher probability of netting at that original goal of 10. If you want to sell 10 and you aim for 10, it's going to be much more difficult for you to hit 10. And this can be very physically demonstrated, the power of aiming high in an exercise that I was a part of when I was with P&G training. It was team training. And we had to jump. And actually, Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of Spanx, said this in one of her courses that I had tuned into as well. A very similar story, where when I had to jump off of, so we had to climb this log, and we had to jump. And in my case, it was in a forest, and there was this, like a trapeze bar in the circus that swings. So it was quite a bit away. Now, we had climbed up very high. You're in the middle of a forest. It's quite freaky. And you're going to jump into the middle of the forest. And, you're all hooked up and stuff. Yeah. But most people that are jumping are aiming for the bar to grab it, and they win, right? If they grab that bar. But most people that jumped, they missed the bar and they fell.
Right.
In my case, what I did was I knew I had to hit the bar. So what I did was I aimed higher than the bar. So I was aiming to jump and grab air that was above the bar. And by doing that, I naturally ended up netting out right where the bar was, grabbing it and succeeding. Right. So.
Oh, so you're the jumper too.
A little bit.
That's good. That's good. No, that's amazing. That's good. Good stories. That's really valuable. So, what's your future goal? Like, what's your future goal for 3D Crystallize It, your software? How do you see it in the future?
I think my goal is to continue innovating. I just love new ideas. I love coming up with, things that didn't exist before, and that, all of a sudden, just from the mind's eye, have become a reality. And especially when consumers enjoy it and love it and appreciate it, that's what excites me. And so my goal is to continue building the business, but more so along the lines of building the industry and helping new entrepreneurs, because I've already I've proven a concept. I've got the formula, and it's worked. Right. And so whether it be helping entrepreneurs just more generally in whatever it is that they're doing, or helping entrepreneurs that are perhaps, there's a lot of people that want to get into the 3D space and sell the 3D crystal product. And instead of, most people will see new entrants in the 3D crystal industry as competitors, right? It's that archaic way of doing business where they see them as a competitor and they go head to head, versus, for me, it's almost, I want to collaborate with them. I want to work with them. If they want to get into the business, I'll actually spend some time on the phone explaining their options. You asked about our software. So as they get into the business, they need a solution for converting flat images to 3D. That's Cockpit 3D, and that's something that we created. It's an entire service solution, software service solution, where we're providing, these laser operators with the opportunity to have flat images modeled to 3D so quickly, and able to then laser etch in their machines for their customers. So helping to grow the industry in that sort of a way.
Nice. No, that's good. So what is one tip that you can share today, so to anybody, so you can have success today? Like one tip that to have success.
I can give you, okay, I'll give you, I think I have two tips I can share with you. So one is, I would say, this one I hold firm to my heart, which is kind of why I'm giving you one extra one, is I would say that don't treat, when you're looking to build your business, treat your growth and focus on growing your business based on market share. So don't treat your success or your win as a win based on you doing better than a competitor. Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's what a lot of people do. They look at their competitor. What's my competitor doing? Let me either copy it or let me do whatever it takes to beat them. And that's a very unhealthy way of doing business. Now, I'm not saying don't watch your competitor. You gotta have competitive intelligence. You have to have a pulse in your industry and know what others are doing. That's smart business. But what I'm saying is that don't be myopic in terms of treating your success based on beating your competitor. Instead of being distracted by watching your competitor, what I recommend is watch market share. Try and build market share. Try and gain more market share for your product, whether it's for your service or for your product. Because in doing so, what happens is that you end up really becoming the leader in your industry. Right. And inevitably what ends up happening is that when you do that, you are going to, end up with more higher numbers or whatever it is, than the competitor who's maybe too distracted, focusing on what you're doing, and following in your dust. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. The second thing is, something that I would share is something that was shared with me by the former CEO of Procter & Gamble. And it was about focusing on 2 moments of truth. Okay. The two moments of truth are, first, when the customer decides, out of all the options that they have available to them, to spend their hard-earned money with you. So back when I was with P&G, if they decided to buy Tide laundry detergent over the competitor, or if they decided to buy, you know, Olay over the competitor, or Crest over the competitor, that was winning at the first moment of truth. So if you're an online business, for example, for me, we're not selling fast-moving consumer goods anymore. I'm selling specialty goods. But for me, when at this moment, when a consumer is surfing the web and goes through all the different options of where they want to spend their money on a specialty gift, and they choose to spend it with me over all the other options that they have available, that's me winning at the first moment of truth. Okay.
Yeah.
The second moment of truth is when the customer receives their product or takes their product home, interacts with that product, and loves the product and their experience so much that they feel you have not only met their expectations, but that you have exceeded their expectations. And that, my friend, that is winning that customer and their loyalty for life. Two moments of truth.
That's very valuable. Very valuable. It's true too, definitely. I mean, obviously, as put it myself, when I'm buying something, obviously the same thing, right? You kind of experience both sides, right? Like pick something and the results, what you get back with the customer service and the value and the the quality, right? So that's
it speaks volumes for sure.
Yeah, sure. So Riyaz, we're almost near the end. We talked about earlier, there was an offer that you wanted to give to anybody who's watching.
Most people don't know what a 3D crystal is.
Yes.
So I'm wondering how many people know what is a 3D. We talked about 3D crystals. What's a 3D crystal? So a 3D crystal is this here. Now I have lighting here, so I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah,
you can see it? Okay. So this here is a solid crystal, and that image is, if I turn it to the side, you'll see it's 3D, and it's laser etched inside, right? So it never wears, tears, or fades away. It's there forever, and it's so lifelike and real, it kind of pops right up. So my offer for one of your viewers, I suppose, you can let me know who the winner is, will receive a 3D crystal with their selected image. It might be of your pet, it might be a corporate logo, it might be of your family, whatever. We can make 3D of anything, send it over, and we'll be happy to provide that to you.
That's great. That's perfect. So we'll put a link in on the video, below the video, and then we'll give the details on that. But thank you again, Riyaz. Is there anything else you want to add before we finish?
My pleasure. It was great to be here with you.
Perfect. Shine. Thanks again, Riyaz.
Take care.